Tonight, the government has been shut down for 33 days, and that puts us just 2 days away from tying or breaking the record for the longest government shutdown in U.S. history, which lasted 35 days during President Trump's first term.
Tonight, Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy has a warning for Americans traveling by air amid the ongoing shutdown. He says flights at airports across the country may continue to be delayed or even canceled altogether. That's because at airports nationwide, there are shortages of air traffic controllers. The FAA says nearly half of all major air traffic control facilities are now facing staffing shortages. Air traffic controllers are required to work without pay for the duration of the shutdown, which has now gone more than a month.
Well, this weekend, the U.S. military carried out its 15th lethal strike on alleged drug smugglers overseas. On social media, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth said the vessel was operated by a U.S.-designated terrorist organization. He didn't name it. 3 people were killed in that strike, which now brings the total number of people killed in strikes by the U.S. military to 64. The commander-in-chief has justified the attacks as a necessary escalation to stop drugs from flowing into the U.S. This week, a landmark case will go before the nation's highest court on whether to uphold or strike down the president's tariffs on foreign goods. Fox News correspondent Rebecca Castor shares what's at stake.
On Wednesday, the Supreme Court will hear arguments in what's arguably the single most important economic case that's ever come before the justices. The question they'll consider: did President Trump exceed his authority to impose import taxes on goods from nearly every country in the world without approval from Congress?
These trade deficits that we've had for years, 20, 30 years, we were close to a breaking point, and the president did not want us to get there. That is what emergency powers are for.
After the president enacted his sweeping reciprocal tariffs in April, several small businesses hit with high import costs, along with 12 states sued. Lower courts ruled in the businesses' favor, but White House lawyers hope the justices reverse the decision, telling the court revoking the president's tariff authority would have catastrophic consequences for our national security, foreign policy, and economy. If the high court rules against Trump, the administration might have to refund the bulk of the $165 billion in tariff revenues so far.
We do have backup plans, and the president's trade team is working diligently on those contingency plans. But ultimately, we are hopeful that the Supreme Court will rule on the right side of the law.
This case is so critical to the president's agenda, Trump may even show up to the arguments Wednesday.
I think it's one of the most important decisions in the history of the Supreme Court, and I might go there. I really believe I have an obligation to go there.
The Supreme Court has expedited this case, so we expect a quick ruling in a matter of weeks. In Washington, Rebecca Castor, Fox News.
And topping world news, a mass stabbing on a fast-moving train in London.
Yeah, that attack left 10 people hospitalized, 9 of which are still in serious condition.
British Transport Police declared a major incident yesterday, and counter-terrorism policing were initially supporting our investigation. However, at this stage, there is nothing to suggest that this is a terrorist incident.
The suspect was arrested. Police are now trying to uncover a possible motive. In the meantime, police are stepping up officers at train stations.
Meantime, in Kenya, the death toll from a landslide has now gone up to 26, and rescue efforts have been suspended due to a flash flood, despite 25 people who are still missing.
It's still an active incident that we urge the community members to move to safer grounds for purposes of their safety.
The military deployed 4 aircrafts to provide relief and support there.
And in Ukraine, a Russian drone attack turns deadly. Ukraine's State Emergency Services video showing firefighters battling heavy flames in the Odessa region. At least 2 people were killed, 3 others were injured. Tens of thousands of Ukrainians left without power.
The first American Pope is renewing his calls for a ceasefire in Sudan and prayers for Tanzania. The pontiff says attacks on civilians are creating unacceptable suffering. And he asked both sides to avoid violence and, quote, walk the path of dialogue. This during his Sunday service in St. Peter's Square.
A new video of Day of the Dead celebrations in Mexico City. You can see thousands of people in colorful costumes marching along in giant floats. Food, music, and altars of pictures, candles, and offerings are also part of those celebrations. The holiday aims to remember, honor, and celebrate the lives of those deceased.